We are just waiting for Lisa, our main guest, to show up here, and we'll get started.
Hello, all, and welcome to Lightning Friday. We got a we've got a show for you today. Let's see, trying to get Evan here up on the stage, and it looks like we've got Lisa Neigut or Nifty Nye from Blockstream to talk to us today about liquidity ads in Lightning. That's on C Lightning and Lightning in a MEV environment, which stands for the minor extractable value.
Hey friends. Or also I think also depending on who you talk to, it also stands for maximal extractable value. But I think that depends on who you're talking to. I don't, hey y'all, how's it going? Justifer, I like missed everything you said prior to this, so I can't tell if like sorry.
No, that was perfect what you did. Um, yeah, how's it going this week?
It's going good. Um, yeah, stuff's going great this week. Got back from Bit Black Boom earlier this week and yeah, oh, and then posted, I guess
Justifer, you there, man? All right, let's see. Give us a moment. We have some technical difficulties, but hopefully we can get back up and running. We're having a lot of technical difficulties right here. We can't get Justifer on, so I might have to write a strongly worded DM to Mr. Dorsey. But we'll see. I think Lisa's going to join us on stage, and hopefully we can kick off from there. Hey, Lisa. All right, let's see. Hey, I'll just request to join if you want to come up and chat with us while we try to get all the hosts on board. I'll accept you and we can get some discussion going.
What's up, Evan? It seems Lisa's having some audio issues, so she's gonna rejoin. She said she couldn't hear others.
Okay, no worries. Thanks for the update. She is requesting again. Seems like we're having a lot of technical difficulties today, but
Hey, friends. Hello. Hey, some of us look like we made it over the hump from the last days.
Yeah, it seems like there's still quite a few bugs here, but we're going to do what we can today. Anyway, thanks a bunch for joining us. Looks like Chaz is going to join back a little later. We got Justifer in the room, but I don't think we can get him to connect. I'm going to try.
Request to join, Justifer.
Cool. Yeah, I guess while Mr. Justifer is on his way up, so I think the topic for today is all like stuff that it's from the blog post I think I put out on, was that this week? Was that this Tuesday? That feels like impossibly long time ago. I think that's right. Right? I wish Chaz was here. He was the one who pinged me about it to come talk. Man, Twitter Spaces, back in my whatever. But yeah, so I guess for people in the audience who haven't heard or aren't familiar with it, that's cool, Evan. I'm just gonna talk, and you should stop me.
Just go for it. I'm trying to pull up your blog post, and I'll share it with everyone.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I put out pretty long blog post. Like, didn't realize how much I was writing, so I got to the end of it, and then was like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna publish it all. But basically, the blog post on Monday was about a topic that a friend of mine has been asking me to think about, which is like MEV on Lightning. But I'm gonna guess that like most people in the audience, I kind of would be like, all right, if you're in the audience, show of hands if you know what MEV is. You know, just like click on the little heart sign and then click on like a hand or something if you've heard of MEV. Just because that would be fun, but cool if not. I got a couple hands going up. Okay. Looks like there's only a couple people. Okay, so I should definitely explain what this is. So the idea of MEV is really big kind of over in the Ethereum ecosystem. I realize I'm probably talking to a bunch of Bitcoiners. So before you pull all the pitchforks out, I can explain a little. Can I explain? Let me try to explain a little bit here. So like it stands for, like, as in the last space someone was asking, and MEV stands for like minor extractable value, or some people call it maximal extractable value because it's not just the miners who get it, but basically it has to do with like on like there's a bunch of different forms that it can take, but the general idea is that you can see people's orders coming in on Ethereum. So like Ethereum has like decentralized exchanges and stuff. So that basically means that there's a lot of people exchanging assets on the Ethereum blockchain. That's what a decentralized exchange is. It basically provides you a way of finding someone who's willing to like trade you on an asset. So typically and on Ethereum, when like you make a transaction to exchange one asset for another, you send it to the blockchain, so you have to send it to a miner. So you find someone who's willing to make this trade with you, maybe through like Uniswap or SushiSwap. You make a transaction that executes the trade, and then you send that transaction to a miner, and then the miner at some point takes this transaction and puts it in a block on your behalf. And then in theory, like after the transaction ends up in the blockchain, now you own like, 10 like tokens of USD, where before you would own like a couple Ethereum tokens or whatever, right? Like it's an asset exchange. These are all like ERC20 tokens for the most part. Anyway, long story short is that this MEV stuff then is basically someone's watching those transactions come into the mempool on Ethereum and sees an opportunity that your transaction represents to maybe front run you and buy a whole bunch of like whatever asset you're trading from, and then you buy it and the price is higher, and then it sells it a lot right after you did. And then in order to like, so basically they like, this requires like ordering of transactions on because the person who's trying to like do the arb, and usually the person that I'm talking about that's doing the arb is actually like a bot someone wrote that's like looking for these opportunities. Anyways, but it usually requires like ordering of transactions, so it takes like basically the person who wanted to do the asset exchange or the trade, and then this like secondary party that I call in my blog post kind of like an intermediary that like is watching the chain, sees this like transaction you're trying to make come up, make some other transactions that go around the original transaction that you created, and then submits all of them to a miner and tells the miner, hey, I'd like these 3 transactions to get mined. And I want them to be mined in this order that I'm proposing. And if you do that, let's say that if I do that, that's going to make me like, let's say like 5 ETH or whatever. And so in order to like incentivize the miner to mine these like 3 transactions in the order that I'm proposing them, I'm going to pay the miner like 4 of that 5 ETH that I make. So the miner makes 4 ETH up over and above what they would have made had they just mined my transaction without like listening to this like intermediary or third party like bot guy, or lady, gal, person, thing, who is basically like seeing an opportunity that your transaction creates to like basically make some arb. So that's kind of like, and there's like lots of different kinds of like ways of those opportunities, so to speak, that exist, I think, across the crypto spectrum. And so the idea of my post, at least, was like, okay, looking at Lightning, where are there places that we could like extract this like MEV, so to speak. Yeah, so I can't remember. I'd have to I should probably pull it up. I just wrote this thing this week too, so I guess like I should remember it better than I do. But let's see. I think I talk about on Lightning then. So it's like, okay, so that's kind of what MEV is like on a blockchain, like on layer 1, right? So it has to do with like talking to a miner and figuring out like which transactions are profitable for some person, or like kind of extra profitable for one party to have done in a certain way. And so they're incentivized to like pay the miner some of the fees that they're going to make from like that ordering of transactions. And so then that becomes like an opportunity basically for the miner to like make extra money. And in the ETH case, like in ETH, they basically have like people like send their stuff to like mempools and whatnot like normally, but all these bots that are doing like the ordering stuff typically use, like, I understand they send it like directly to miners. They don't even go through the mempool. So like most miners use some software that lets you submit ordered transactions, and the bots just go ahead and submit it directly to the miners, so you don't even go through like the mempool and stuff. Anyway, so it's like kind of like this way of like getting to the miner and like sending them stuff that you want them to mine, really like not fast, but like kind of outside of their normal whatever of looking through stuff. And so they look at like how much you're going to pay them versus like how much block space there is, or how much, how much available space there is in the block versus like how much people are paying in the normal mempool. And the miner gets to decide like what they're going to do, and ideally they pick like the thing that gets them the most money, right? So the stuff that is like this MEV stuff typically goes in without a problem because they end up like making the most money on that, which is kind of, I guess it's interesting. I mean, it's like all in the like incentive design thing. Anyway, so like looking at this like problem, it's like, okay, where are opportunities for incentives that exist in Lightning? And so Lightning is like, you say Lightning right now, Lightning Network is like all Bitcoin. Like the Bitcoin Lightning Network is probably the largest and biggest deployed L2. I'm not sure if it's like that has like the most total value locked. I feel like there's probably some Ethereum like sidechain that could claim that over and above Lightning. So maybe someone in here can like correct me on that. I don't actually know. Like I don't keep track of like stats on that kind of stuff, but yeah, so the question then is like, okay, where in layer 2 is there like opportunity for like extra value to be created or kind of pulled out? And so in the blog post I like talked through sort of like the off-chain ways that transactions get routed on Lightning and kind of how that works, and sort of instead of the miners, like at least in the blog post that I wrote, and I think there's probably, I'm sure I've missed stuff, like my blog post is kind of just like a very like naive look at the stuff that's available, or whatever you're gonna call it, as kind of like a very surface level thing. And then the yeah, so like just like surface level one, like the first one is the first thing I looked at is like, okay, like just in a channel, right? So if like MEV on Ethereum is created by MEV on Ethereum is kind of done by these like bots that watch transactions come in and then reorders them, right, such that they can make decisions about like decisions about how to like add new transactions to like make money, right? So like kind of where to put their arb based on like information flow. It's like, okay, so if you're a Lightning node router and you're running a routing node, what kind of opportunities are there for you to like reorder transactions that come through your stuff? Like where's the value in that? And like I think in my blog post, I think I like kind of come to the conclusion that like there's like a little bit of ordering. So like if you're like, so for those of you who are like maybe a little unfamiliar with how like Lightning nodes or Lightning channel all stuff works, is like, so on the Lightning channel, there's like the way that transactions move through them is you have to, like, it's really hard to see where transactions are coming from and where they're going if you're a Lightning routing node. So this has to do with the way that the routing information is like packaged up and encrypted. So Lightning actually uses something called onion messages. This is the same kind of construction that Tor uses for when it's routing packets throughout the Tor network. Lightning has a separate implementation. It's a little different than Tor, but the basic concept of what we're doing is the same. But basically, the reason that wrapping it up in an onion message means that if you're a Lightning node and you see a payment come in, the only information that you have about that payment is where it was coming from, like the one hop previous to you. So you know who's giving you the onion routed, like the onion message. And then you know the value of that message, like when it gets to you. And then you know kind of like what the value is. And then you know exactly who you're going to send that message to, like after you. So you get an onion message and you like, it's like called an onion message because the it's got layers kind of wrapped up like an onion. And so when you get it, you unpeel like the next you alone. So like the person who handed it to you doesn't have the keys to unpeel it. When you get it, you have the key and you can unpeel your next layer to see who the next recipient is. But because of the way that the messages are constructed, you don't know like how many people had the message before you. You don't know how many people are going to get the message after you. All you know, again, is where it's coming from and where it's going to. So like why is this why are we talking about like onion messages? Why is this important at all? And like the like in the whole, what do you call it, like why does this matter to like MEV? And the reason is like, okay, so if you've got this idea that like, so with MEV, like when you're running an ARB like on chain on layer 1, you need to be able to see the transactions coming in and have some time so that you can like create other transaction opportunities kind of around that, like a trade that someone submits to the mempool, so to speak. But on Lightning, so like let's say instead of routing their payments or transactions to like the mempool to do it on layer 1, like let's say a lot of trade is moved over to layer 2, which is where Lightning is, and you like for whatever reason or someone who runs these bots, and now you want to like kind of see if you can get arbitrage opportunities by watching Lightning stuff, so you set up a Lightning node. The problem is that like one, yeah, you might be able to see who pay. It's gonna depend like where your channel is. Two, if the people aren't sending those trades through your channels, you're not going to see them because Lightning is decentralized and you only see the orders or the payments that come through your node. So you don't really have this global view that the mempool gives you. So like on layer 1, when you make a transaction, the way that layer 1s work is they send the transaction basically to like every single node, with the hope to broadcast out. When you broadcast out like a Bitcoin transaction, for example, on layer 1, it goes to every single node that's running on Bitcoin is probably going to get your transactions. So like everyone will see what transaction you have. There's also a period of time between when your transaction is like put into the network, like into the mempool, and when there's like a delay between when people see your transaction and when it gets included in a block. And that delay and that's because, blocks are only made, at least on Bitcoin, every 10 minutes. There's some time there that someone else has an opportunity to like take it and kind of make some other transactions around it, and try and get those submitted. Whereas like on Lightning, for example, and maybe I like put this, I don't know if I like explain this all out in the blog post, but it's cool to talk about it anyway. On Lightning though, you have like very limited view to see of what transactions are going through the network. This is by design, right? Like it's made this way on purpose. It's meant to be more private than the base chain layer is. It's also meant to be a lot faster. But these things create like challenges then for anyone who wants to run arbitrage on like transactions running through Lightning. Again, yeah, so like let's say again, like you're a node, you've got some channels, you're trying to like see what payments are coming through and use that to like try and organize other trades so that you can profit off of seeing transactions come through your Lightning node. But it's really hard because all you can see, let's say, is like the Lightning for one doesn't have like assets on it, so really all you would see are Bitcoin payments. But when you do see a Bitcoin payment, let's say for some reason you're able to see a Bitcoin payment come through your thing, and that for some reason gives you an idea of some other trade you want to make. It's really hard though because you don't know like where it's coming from. You don't know where it's going. you don't really have any way of like attaching this to any particular actor or like asset trade that's going to happen. Like, let's say someone sends like, you know, half a Bitcoin transaction through your node, and it's because they're going to go buy like Tether on an exchange. But you don't have any way to really like map this like half a Bitcoin transaction that you see to like any action outside of the payment channel. So that's like, it's kind of one of the challenges, at least in the way that Lightning has been constructed with regards to like making arbitrage and stuff. So like, yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting. So that's like on chain, that's in channel stuff. If you kind of change your idea of what it means to like make like MEV and like, oh, maybe like arbitrage opportunities, like we can't really do arbitrage, that kind of arbitrage on Lightning, within the Lightning network. Like maybe you can do it if you're like on an exchange and you have a account at an exchange and you're using Lightning to transfer money between exchanges, but you're not actually doing the exchange itself over Lightning. So if you're using Lightning as a rails to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities that exist on centralized exchanges, that's like a totally different thing than what I was talking about in my blog post. That's totally possible. I think a lot of exchanges are currently working on making that a thing that traders, etc., can do. But I think there's kind of like this really interesting, what do you call it? Like, not dichotomy, but like you kind of like when you start looking at why is like these MEV stuff possible on chain versus like why is it so like harder to do on Lightning, it kind of gets into this like interesting thing, I think, in terms of like Lightning, because of its like, it's kind of got like this zero knowledge ish ness to it because of the onion routing. And then payments on layer 1 are all batched, right? And the batch is actually like the block that goes out. So every block that gets made is basically batch processing of a set of transactions. So anytime that you are like looking at batching, and specifically in like Ethereum, because of the way that like it's an execution, like every block is ordered, strictly ordered, and the order of the transactions in the block is that order that they get executed for like the trade blotter, so to speak. So, you know, you want to be in this batch, but batches only happen however many minutes, and then the ordering in the batch matters a lot, so people end up paying premium for like ordering in batches. Whereas Lightning like at a certain level doesn't have batching. Really, Lightning is like how fast is your network. So like sending a Lightning payment, so like when you send a Lightning payment, the only delay that you have there really, like, so what's like holding up a Lightning payment, there's two things really. One is how fast is your network, because Lightning payments don't require a batching process like waiting for a block to go out. There's no consensus really with it, other than between two parties. At some point, like the limit of a transaction on Lightning is not like when's the next batch getting processed as it is on layer 1, but how fast is my network connection to the person that I have this channel with, right? Also, like, is the person, assuming, like, let's assume that, like, for whatever reason, like, we've got two exchanges and they've got one big Lightning channel between them, and people are using this Lightning channel to send funds back and forth between the two exchanges to take opportunity of arbitrages between the two exchanges, just as an example, right? At that point, like really it comes down to like how you're back into, like, at that point you're back into kind of the high frequency trading, what do you call it, like high frequency trading kind of problems, which is like, so I don't, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the high frequency trading stuff that's been happening on, like, I'm gonna call normie exchanges, maybe they would call that TradFi, basically like the New York Stock Exchange versus like the Chicago Board of Exchange, right? A really great book written by Michael Lewis, called Flash Boys, which talks about the evolution of high frequency trading, using computers to basically make it such that your computer was physically closer to the computer that was making the exchanges, such that you would get information about exchanges that had happened on the centralized TradFi exchange, like the Chicago Board of Exchange or like the New York Stock Exchange. Like, you know, they moved to computers, so they had computers that were like exchanging the information stuff. And then if you were a trader, you would put your computer as physically close to this computer actually executing the exchanges as possible, because that way your trades you would hear about information from the central exchange faster, because the physical amount of cabling between your computer and the exchanging computer is shorter. And so, you know, let's say information travels like at the speed of light, but even then there's a few milliseconds of difference in having like a 10-foot cable versus like a 100-mile cable. So the shorter you could get your phone lines between the centralized exchange and your computer that's like processing it, so like taking in the information about exchanges that have been made and then emitting new exchanges, it becomes like a physical networking problem. So, you know, just kind of
So
back up.
these guys would, like, usually they'd go ahead and they'd put their boxes like right in the data center that the banks would use in New York. So they'd either be like down by the exchange or in the data centers in New Jersey across the water.
Yeah, exactly. And they would pay lots. I mean, this is like basically MEV, right? Because they'd pay the exchange or like whatever, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for the privilege of being that close, because their data cables are a lot shorter. Anyways, when you have batching like on Ethereum, like it being able to like quickly see these opportunities doesn't matter as much, because there's a little more time, right? Like you just have to get your stuff ordered, and you have to find the opportunity that pays you the most, and then find a miner and like give them a lot of money. So yeah, that is a little bit of a time sensitive thing, but you kind of have a little more time because there's like a batch. And so as long as it all happens before the batch happens, like, because it's like a batch is almost like an auction, right? Like there's like a period in which anyone who wants to arbitrage a transaction has time to like figure out what they're going to pay the miner and then offer that to the miner. And if someone else like outbids them, then they can just like tell the miner they'll give them, you know, my earlier example, I said like there were like 5 like ETH tokens or whatever that you could make in arbitrage opportunity, and you decide you're going to pay the miner 4 of them, and then someone else comes and sees the exact same opportunity as you and tells the miner they'll give them like 4.5 of the total tokens. So then the miner has time, right? Because like the block hasn't been found or whatever yet. They can like accept whatever offers the best or like is the best incentive for them. Whereas when you're looking at something that's like Lightning, or it's like layer 2, it's not batched. Like these are not batched transactions. These are just like as soon as you get it, you do it, right? Which is kind of, anyways, this is like the comparison I'm trying to make, and this is why I bring up high frequency trading. Is high frequency trading wasn't batch trading, it was just as fast as your network could go. Whoever got the information first would be the first one who's able to react. I think my theory, and again, like I'm totally away from like my blog post at this point, this was kind of stuff I was going to put in a second blog post, but the whole idea then is like with lightning, like what are the constraints on trade of like opportunities? So again, I guess we were talking a little bit earlier, like 2 exchanges, there's one lightning channel between them, there's traders that are trying to use this lightning channel to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities. At that point, you're not really like competing with other people in like this auction with style to like pay the miner the most for the slot in the block. Instead, you're trying to be the closest to the lightning endpoint so that your commands get to the whoever's like whatever's like firing off the exchanges over that lightning channel first, right? Because lightning's not batched, it's really just like as soon as it gets the order, it sends it, right? Yeah, I don't know. So I thought that's like kind of interesting from like it's kind of interesting, I think, to think about in terms of like challenges around arbitrage, which is sort of what MEV, like I think MEV is kind of like, I think MEV is like basically arbitrage, or arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe
Trying to beat your peers to the punch, and you know, closing the gap on that arbitrage spread before they do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, right, like, you know, it's like opportunities for extraction of value is kind of what I think arbitrage is, like another way of defining arbitrage. I think they kind of say similar things, but yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
so I think lightning, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just really fascinating. I think you hit it right on the head with the data that's available to someone on Lightning, right? Like, if you wanted to get the information that's required to piece together where these flows are going, like you're already in place, right? Like you would have brought your you'd have your channels with the peers in the direction that those flows are going already, with your low enough base fees, and at that point, like you're already in position, right? So it's like, and unless you have another peer that's giving that information to you, like there's nothing to really front run in terms of Lightning data. I guess my question is like, what can someone front run and ascertain from like Lightning transactions for channel opens and closes that are in the mempool? Like what data there can you pull apart? Like, can you see like a channel open to a popular party from someone else? Like,
yeah, so we're just talking from like a Lightning protocol perspective, right? So like channel opens we're assuming, like, let's assume this is like a totally public, it's an announced channel, right? It's not an unannounced channel. It's like, so we're talking about like an announced channel, and it's like a big thing, and it's between like two exchanges, right? For whatever reason, they're making it public, and at some point everyone will know about it and be able to route through it. Based on the way that the protocol is written, so in Lightning, at like the protocol level, when you go to open a channel, you and your peer that you're opening a channel with negotiate the channel open, and then you broadcast the transaction that opens the channel, and then at some point, like usually 3 or 6, it's like a little configurable. No, I think it's at 6. I think the protocol says that you have to wait about an hour. So on Bitcoin, so 6 blocks, which is like 60 minutes. It's about an hour. You wait until that transaction is like 6 blocks deep before you send out what's called a channel announcement. Both of you put signatures on it. There's like 4 signatures on this like message. It's a gossip message. It gets sent out to every node in the Lightning Network that tells them what transaction they can find, where basically in the UTXO set they can now find proof that this channel exists. And then in the message, it's got a couple signatures that you can use to verify. So you go look up like the UTXO, and you can verify that those nodes have like both basically committed to that like UTXO being a channel open. Anyways, point of this is like, using the way that the Lightning Network works like today, right now, it takes an hour before you would even first hear about a new channel opening. So yeah, you would like, and if you were watching, because of the way that like if you were watching the mempool, you would see this transaction come out, but you wouldn't have confirmation that it's a Lightning channel until an hour later. So at that point, the channel would be open and operational. And in theory, it's not operational until that message goes out. So like it wouldn't do you really any good. Well, yeah, maybe they've like, I mean, it's possible they've like agreed to like start using the channel at like 2 blocks or 3 blocks of like depth instead of 6. But they don't send the announcement out until 6. Anyways, so like maybe it's possible you could get a little bit of edge and like sort of guessing where it is, but you wouldn't know who the channel was between unless you had some way of like tracking the UTXOs for those channels, those parties, and like knew that those UTXOs belonged to like that party or whatever. So yeah, I guess it's like, I think it's really hard right now on Lightning to figure out where channels are going to open ahead of like the announcement going out to everyone, which is typically an hour after the channel's actually been like broadcast and mined, right? That's not even like broadcast to chain. That's like broadcast to mempool. That's like has been in a block for an hour. And that's when everyone would start finding out about it.
Damn, so much more difficult than I thought. And certainly sounds like things are going to be even more difficult when, say, we're using things like Taproot, and we can't even tell what a Lightning channel open transaction is or not. So that's going to add some complexity to the mix as well.
Yeah, and this is like, so like, I mean, if you talk to people that like talk about like, like the existence of MEV on Ethereum is like very controversial, I think. Some people think it's really good, and that it's like good that ETH has a way of like kind of like building infrastructure for that type of transaction, like for bots basically to like arbitrage existing transactions, because it's going to happen anyway. And so like providing infrastructure that's accessible for anyone writing a bot to like be able to get access to miners to like basically bribe them to like order transactions how they want is like good because this behavior is going to exist anyway, so they might as well like make it accessible for everyone. I think like so like anyways like I'm kind of missing my point here. My point is that like it's a little controversial. There's like discussions about how would you like get rid of it. I don't think it's possible to drive arbitrage out of a system at all entirely. I think people will always seek for ways to make it exist. But one of the big suggestions is basically like this like trade-off between removing information or like hiding things. So I think Lightning like definitely leans really hard into the like non-public private information, like kind of darkness. It's way more dark than like a public mempool. And I think that like as Evan's been pointing out, like yeah, that makes it like so much harder to run this like arbitrage style stuff because you like you need information. Like, and I think I talked about this in my post at the beginning, like two of the things that you need is like access to information about people's like desired transactions, right? And like Lightning just like by design, like Lightning is designed to be like very private, like as private as possible, right? And by removing a lot of that public information, you do take out a lot of opportunity for like arbitrage or like whatever, because you just can't see where people are putting money until like after the fact, so to speak, right? So people could be opening up big channels that like they're like for moves they're gonna make, but you like don't know about them or wouldn't know about them until everyone else finds out like an hour later. Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely fascinating. So we got a question from our co-host Justifer. Unfortunately, the Twitter Spaces gods are not allowing him to enter our space, or at least as a speaker. So he asks, do you think Lightning will be the currency, or I guess medium, for high-frequency trades on other protocols with more MEV?
With more
more opportunity for MEV, I guess in the context of swooping in and front running someone.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like there's kind of like a big question here of like how valuable is like arbitrage for the like functioning of like a trade system or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that like, and so like I did a oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
Okay. Yeah, so like I had the opportunity to do a podcast this past weekend on Saturday while I was at BitBlock Boom, which just came out yesterday. Anyways, like at the very end of it, it's a podcast. I was talking about how I think that like other assets on Lightning is like definitely gonna happen. So I think that and the reason that it's gonna happen is because it's like a way of trading crypto assets. Like Lightning as a technology is a way of trading crypto assets like way faster, like so much faster than like any blockchain, any like batch transaction layer one blockchain style system. There's a lot of reasons for that. I don't really want to get into them because I'm being lazy, but I really like because of how fast that Lightning is, and like how I was kind of talking earlier, how like Lightning sort of approximates like the sort of exchange dynamics you get with high frequency trading, right? Where there's like a centralized exchange where the information is, but then like the actual sending and receiving of the transactions like happens like kind of privately. So you don't see the transactions like actually get affected until like hit wherever the exchange is that they're trying to do it. Yeah, so like I think that other assets are definitely going to start moving on to Lightning because it is like the fastest way that you can exchange like crypto native assets, period, that I know of. And that's because of like how they're like locked up and like how well basically it's because you can exchange them as fast as like network goes. So like layer one assets, you can exchange them as fast as the book. Basically, like it's a bookkeeping, right? Like what's the bookkeeping mechanism on the platform? On layer one, the bookkeeping mechanism is like the blockchain. So you can trade as fast as like transactions can get like committed to block. So on Bitcoin, the fastest that you can make trades is like 10 minutes. The fastest, really don't know how fast Ethereum goes. I'm gonna guess like 3 minutes, whatever. So like the fastest you can like make changes happen on Ethereum or effectuate changes like trades is like 3 minutes on Ethereum, but like on Lightning, it's like nanoseconds, right? You're back to like, it's as fast as the network goes. They're able to like exchange value on Lightning. And I think that that's like way too sexy and like way too much of an edge to like just leave to Bitcoin. I mean, it'd be awesome if everyone started just like, you know, like, it's like, okay, like you've got exchanges, you want to do some stuff, so you're going to trade into Bitcoin so that you can go over Lightning to get to like the other exchange, because that's just like the fastest way of getting value between these two systems in like in a decentralized way, right? Like centralized exchanges, I'm not sure actually if there's other networks that like let you send payments between exchanges really quickly. I know Silvergate was working on like the Silvergate network, which was basically trying to be, I think, like a similar kind of like, if you had a bank account with Silvergate, it's like a bunch of crypto exchanges, I think, have like accounts at Silvergate, so you can like send the money from one Silvergate like account to another really quickly. I don't know how that works. Like maybe there's like some private like options for that, where that kind of stuff happens. But like decentralized, like in the public, everyone, like accessible for everyone kind of like tools and stuff. Lightning is like best in class. Like you're not like, I haven't seen anything. If anyone knows of something, like, yeah, please let me know. But as far as I know, like Lightning is like the fastest way to exchange like crypto native assets, period. And I think that like thinking that that's just going to stay Bitcoin is like a little naive, because it's just way too sexy. There's like way too much of an opportunity in other arenas to like not be looking at getting Lightning on that stuff.
Awesome. So how about arbitrage between exchanges? Do you think Lightning will be used perhaps for inter-Bitcoin exchange arbitrage?
Man, Evan, don't you work in an exchange?
Maybe.
What do you think?
I think there's definitely a potential. However, you know, there's a cost to having those channels and maintaining that liquidity. You don't just want one big arbitrage player to just clear out your whole channel, to clear out an entire opportunity, and you know, just have the team re-scrambling, doing another on-chain transaction to get that back, to have that path. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be like a mix of limits that exchanges have in place, a lot of private channels to facilitate, you know, transfers only when it really behooves the exchanges. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. And as you know, like we haven't really seen too many exchanges have Lightning implemented yet. Like Bitfinex is probably the biggest player. And, you know, we're hoping Kraken gets their implementation out the door this year. We hope to see some other big players get in the mix too. So it's going to be really interesting, because right now a lot of, you know, what we think is just theoretical, and we're going to have to see how things play out.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point there about that like bandwidth, right? Like so I've been talking about how amazing Lightning is because of how fast it goes, but I think as Evan just kind of pointed out, like there is like a bandwidth, right? So you pre-commit how much you kind of, the problem, there's a lot of problems I think with Lightning in terms of liquidity. So basically what that means is when you open a Lightning channel, you kind of have to like decide how much like trade or like how much like payments you'll be able to like fit in that channel at a time, because you like pre-commit the capital to that channel, right? So if you've got like a big like channel between two exchanges, and let's say it's got like, I don't know, 5 Bitcoin in it, and there's only like 2 Bitcoin available to go in one direction, then like whoever's like processing the transactions to like push money to the other side kind of has to decide like, okay, who gets access to that capital? If someone sees a big trade opportunity, are they going to be allowed to like push all 2 Bitcoin? Like, do we just let one person do it? Like, how do you sort that out? Like, so maybe where Lightning MEV like starts popping up is like sort of at like the gateway to this channel, right? So if the channel then becomes like kind of a portal, and whoever controls like access to that gateway or that portal then gets to decide, you know, like whose transactions are they sending through, who's like paying them, like, you know, like you get paid fees for use of capital to like, so in Lightning right now today, when you make a payment, every every person that you push a pay. So like when you make a Lightning payment, there's typically like a number of hops, and at every hop you pay the person whose capital you're pushing to the other side to make that payment happen. So for example, like one big channel between two exchanges, maybe for whatever reason they have some sort of like dynamic pricing of how much they're going to charge you to use the capital, right? Right now it's like on Lightning, it's like fixed, and you broadcast it to the network and everyone gets like a gossip message that tells you how much you're asking for in that channel. And it's like very decentralized and kind of a slow, like gossip propagated thing. But there's nothing saying that you couldn't develop another mechanism for signaling how much you're going to charge for capital to go through your channel. And having it be some sort of like sliding scale that depends on like how congestion of how many people are trying to like push that like 2 Bitcoin to the other exchange, right? Because if there's like actual arbitrage opportunity, you would think that would be quite valuable, right? So I think like, yeah, Evan, I think that actually now that you've pointed it out, like that's a really good I think illustration of where like these like maximal extractable value like situations will start popping up. Like access to a channel that gives you like the is like the only route between two exchanges, right? Like, so this is kind of assuming that there's only like this one Lightning channel, right? If there were like a bunch of different routes, then if like one of them got congested, you could like try all the other ones. But Lightning makes it really hard to tell what routes are like have capacity available. Makes it hard to tell what congestion is, which makes it hard, one, if you're trying to like make a trade and you try and your payments fail. Well, that sucks. You just like missed out on the opportunity. But it also really sucks if you're someone who like has liquidity in the right direction, right? So if you have a channel that's got capital in it that someone's gonna like push to the other side, make a payment through, so that they can go make an arbitrage on like an exchange or like a trade or something somewhere else. You as a person, ideally you'd want to like charge them, the person, like, you'd want to charge on that channel for how like kind of what that value is to the person moving the capital is, but you don't know why they're moving it. So you don't have any signal to be like, oh, this person is like very motivated to like make this Lightning payment go through. Like I can charge them a lot versus, but you don't know that, right? Because you don't know, like, you don't have this like picture of where liquidity is placed in the Lightning network. You can't see where it's going.
Well,
Yeah.
generally speaking, on the network, that might be true, but there could be a different, you might have different information if you're an exchange running this gateway and you're dealing with different customers and you have a, closer relationship than just someone you're routing payments for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Evan, it sounds like when you guys launch your Lightning implementation, you should also launch a the like MEV equivalent of what's it called on Ethereum? They have like the one that you can like submit your stuff to. Like you guys should basically launch the Flashbots equivalent for like access to your Lightning channel, right? Where people get to like bid or like pay you like bribes of how much they're gonna pay you to like use liquidity in the Lightning channel, right? And so whoever like pays the most at that time gets like access to the Lightning channel. I don't know.
I like that idea. That could be fun. Drive some more revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's their extractable value thing.
So you were saying having variable rates for different people, or perhaps depending on the amount. So excuse me, because I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet on Sea Lightning. I know you have offers, or not offers, liquidity offers, right?
Yeah, I call them liquidity advertisements. That's right. But those have the same kind of like speed limit. It's the exact same sort of speed limitation that it's like exactly the same as the channel. So like there's that's like two things, I guess. So like there's a fee you pay whenever you like make a payment, right, on Lightning. So like every channel like publishes what their rates are to like use their capital, and that gets sent out via the gossip network. Liquidity ads are also sent out via the gossip network, so they're a little slower to update. And that's like, but that's basically like how much you're gonna. So like a liquidity ad is basically someone advertises that they have liquidity available to commit to a channel, right? So it's basically idea there is that it makes making new capital deployment on the Lightning network a lot more dynamic, because you can look at it's like if you for whatever reason wanted or needed to like send, you needed more capacity, inbound capacity, so that you could, I guess that's accept payments, right? So inbound means that people can pay you money. Liquidity Ads basically makes like a really lightweight, super open way of people advertising that they'll create inbound channel capacity to you. So it's basically a way you can go out onto Lightning Network, look at the gossip, and see like, hey, this person is like advertising how much they're charging for their to like put inbound liquidity to me. And so you can go and open a channel and pay them some money at channel open, and then they'll open, when the channel opens, they'll also put funds into the channel with you, and then you'll have like a that way you can like basically source inbound liquidity kind of on the fly is the idea there. But
now can you broadcast multiple offers? So you could say, I'm willing to, you know, accept payment of this much for up to this amount in liquidity, and say if you want more than that, I'm going to charge you more.
It's like you're in tier 2 at that point. No, it's not that granular, but I think that's a really great idea, and I definitely think that like, so I think the cool thing about Liquidity Ads is like it's like a nice like starting point for doing this kind of stuff of like signaling like, hey, I've got capital and I want like money for it, and like here's where you can find me, and here's what I want you to pay me for it. But I don't think that like Liquidity Ads like in the protocol or like being in gossip necessarily precludes like the opportunity for like a secondary kind of like signaling or like pricing marketplace to like exist on top of that, right? So like I think that the Liquidity Ads is like a good blueprint for like how you would negotiate it, and that's kind of like all in the protocol, and it's like very lightweight, it's all like embedded, but like basically you could like add information to the open transaction. Like when you go to open a channel, there's like this open message you send to the peer, and if you guys had used like a secondary marketplace to kind of negotiate a rate of how much they were going to pay, then they would just like send the info when they open the channel in the open message. It's like, hey, like this is like the open that we negotiated on this other band, here's like an identifier to like identify that I am the one that like negotiated that with you. And so like then the other node knows how to like what to charge them, right, when the channel opens, how much fees they should expect them to be putting into it. Like Liquidity Ads is like a guideline for how to do that in like one basic way, but I don't think that there's anything that precludes like other like ways of negotiating like payment and stuff. I just think that like it's a good blueprint you can follow. And what's nice about the blueprint that the Liquidity Ads kind of set out on how to like pay for channel liquidity is that it uses the dual funding protocol, which is like really nice because it's super lightweight, and that like you only have to do one on-chain transaction. Both sides have the opportunity to put money in, so you can get these like nicely balanced, or like maybe you want them to put like 80% of the channel in or whatever. And it's like a nice, I think, like platform protocol that then you can kind of build these other little markets on top of, and other places to like negotiate how much you want to charge from other people. But yeah, and kind of do that out of band, and then when you go to the protocol, you can just like effectuate the trade you negotiated elsewhere.
Fascinating. Seems like there's gonna be a lot of different opportunities and just a lot of room for experimentation. It's gonna be cool to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it's cool too. Yeah, I think it's super cool. I think like it'd be great if more people knew, I think, about how it works. So maybe I should do a little more stuff on there. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you would definitely get a lot more people using it with some simple tutorials and whatnot. I know I definitely want to start messing with it and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I feel like there's been some stuff with Keysend. Like, you could definitely have like a marketplace that uses Keysend to like negotiate rates or whatever, and then they just like open it using like the dual funded stuff and like some TLVs in the start, basically. But yeah, that's like one example. Like a decentralized billboard. That's basically what Liquidity Ads are, right? It's a decentralized billboard. It doesn't use Keysend. It's free. It's like the freemium model of like how to advertise you have liquidity. Yeah,
it's really interesting also seeing. Well, I saw someone had a proposal for JoinMarket to start doing their negotiation using using Lightning's messaging system. I haven't really gone into
Yeah,
the details of that, but it seems like it could be interesting. It would be replacing their IRC system, which they use for their order book.
yeah, that's super exciting. I also don't know like a whole lot about exactly how their messaging Billboard system works, but they're actually using, so like I think the way that that works is a little different. They're using basically like onion messages, which are a proposal that Rusty put out that Offers is built on top of. So Offers is has to do with like a V2 Gen 2 of like invoices, so basically recurring payments on Lightning. But yeah, the JoinMarket is using the same kind of rails that Offers would use.
Gotcha. So so I suppose they would only work with C Lightning right now.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to see that JoinMarket stuff is awesome. I've been trying to like dual funding, like when you dual fund a channel, you basically do like a coin join with your channel peer. And on C Lightning you can actually do like multi-fund channel. There's like a multi-fund channel command, and if they're all like dual funded offers, then you end up doing like it's basically like a coin join with like every participant, because you can build a one transaction and have like 4 or 5 different channel opens in the same transaction. And then you have, if you're using like liquidity ads on those and each of your peers is like also putting money in the channel, like you're paying them to like give you inbound liquidity at the same time, then you end up with basically like you'd basically end up with like a coin join with like a bunch of different like people putting money into the same channel, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But I've been like,
from a privacy perspective, like that's what we all want. We want all our transactions to be coin joins, right? And we want all our channel opens to be from coin joins, so anyone looking on chain can make odds or ends of anything. So yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah, and then like so we shipped that back in like I want to say like March or April, I can't remember. Anyways, earlier this year. So that's been out for a while. But Liquidity Ads makes it such that you can like actually incentivize people to like put money when you open the channel. It's like a way you signal for them to put money in the channel with you, so it makes it more possible. Yeah. Anyways, like I've been trying to get, I don't know enough about JoinMarket to like know how you would like merge those two, but it feels like there's opportunities that you could like when you open a channel, you could also do a coin join using like JoinMarket, right? So like basically like let's say that you wanted to open a channel but your time preference was like a couple hours, like let's say I want to open a channel in like the next 6 hours, like this person, that would like let you, I think in theory, because of the way like the dual funding like protocol is like very like you can put whatever you want in that transaction, right? Like so you could be like a, I guess it's a maker take, I can never remember what that means exactly, like the maker taker stuff, but basically you could like be the one that's like organizing the coin join or whatever and getting paid for it while also opening a channel at the same time, I think.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I feel like all the pieces are coming together. Like I feel like when we were talking when at the conference in Miami, I feel like Lalu is like thing against like just doing dual funded is like there's no market mechanism now. I mean to coordinate that, to incentivize it. But now we sort of have that in liquidity offers. And now if we could just mix it together with something like a JoinMarket and things start coming together. I mean, if you have the incentives in play to, facilitate those transactions, then, it's going to happen naturally. If using Bitcoin over the years has taught me anything, it's like the incentives matter. And if they all line up, that behavior is going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's also like tooling and making it accessible, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Like getting like JoinMarket to like build out, or someone to like build out the bridge you would need to like if anyone wants to build like a C Lightning plugin that bridges like JoinMarket and channel opens, like I would love to talk, tell you all about our APIs, so like get in touch. But yeah, but I think it's like, it's like I think incentives are great, and like but you gotta like set up the environment and make the tools available such that people can like take advantage of like the incentives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's all just over CLI, we're not going to get the users or the ecosystem to really make everything flow. So We got to make those clean and approachable and usable above everything else interfaces and ways to get into using them. Like it's a one thing to have a nice interface if you have the user rig everything up and connect to their own node, but sort of bridging that gap so that the everyman can do all these things too is going to be a really, really big part of the puzzle. So always
Yeah,
more
for sure.
UI and UX work to do.
Yeah, for sure. And so kind of bring it back to like the blog post that I wrote, right? Like kind of one form of like Lightning MEV that I kind of hint at. I don't know exactly how much I said in the post, but kind of like the tools and like making it available for everyone in terms of like I think like this stuff of like selling liquidity, etc., kind of presents like an opportunity to like make money in theory, right? I think there's a lot of stuff that Lightning Network needs, maybe like like usage and stuff, to make it like totally worthwhile or like profitable. But I think like one of the tools that I think it would be cooler to see is like more like Lightning bots, right? That kind of see these opportunities on like JoinMarket and like have accessibility to like the JoinMarket market and has accessibility to like the Liquidity Ads market and is able to maybe has some way of like knowing where payments are going to go in Lightning. I know that's really hard and probably not ever going to happen, but and then can kind of use like price signals in JoinMarket and price signals on Liquidity Ads to figure out like how to price its own liquidity, where to open channels to, etc. And like but like have that like as a tool that like anyone can like use or run, right? That's like an automated kind of like bot or something. I'm not really sure the incentives are there for someone to like build this bot and then like let everyone have it, but I don't know, that's like kind of the dream, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. Last I heard, someone was building out an API and trying to pair that up with easy to use web interface. So we'll see how that shakes out. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely encouraging to see the pieces being built up and putting in place. So I don't know. I think we're gonna see some very interesting stuff be built in the next 2 years.
I hope so. Cool. Do we have any like more questions or stuff? I guess I can keep talking about.
So I think at this point it would be good to bring some people onto the stage to ask questions. I think that would be awesome. So if anyone wants to ask Lisa a question, feel free to request speaker access, and we'll get you on here.
So I'm here, by the way. I had a meeting at 4 o'clock, so I wasn't able to actually be here. So Lisa, do me a favor and repeat everything you said in the last hour, please.
Well, okay, so I think this is a great question about what have we been talking about for the last hour. Luckily, Chaz, I wrote a blog post that contains like a fraction of the stuff, so you should definitely check that out. I think it's been shared by Evan.
Yep, it's at the top of the channel. I've also retweeted it, so everyone check that out and comment on it. Pressure Lisa to do follow-up posts because she's just scratching the surface on it. Sounds like.
Yeah, someone like, we're not recording this, are we? That would have been really nice just for me, because like I say things and like totally forget about it later.
I think our recording may have been a victim to some of the technical difficulties today. We're usually we got into the flow of recording the last 2 months or so, but I don't think we have one today, do we, Chaz?
I believe that Lightning Cat, who helps with Lightning Junkies, is actually recording this entire thing.
Oh man, yeah. Let's just give a hat tip to our unsung hero, LNJ Cat on Twitter. She's in the room, so she really makes a lot of things happen with the show. So shouts to her. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh,
so yeah, hopefully you get to listen back to some of your thoughts later. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. Cool. I don't know, what else is new in Lightning? I feel like a lot of stuff has happened in the last couple of days.
Yeah, so we had just a couple of topics we were going to get into. Let's see. I think first and foremost, we were going to brush a little bit on Twitter adding tips with Lightning, which was cool to see in some ways, and that, you know, Lightning on Twitter, that's amazing, right? But also a little disappointing in the implementation. So it looks like, first of all, it's a limited release, so only select users have access to it, which is okay, you know, if it's a new feature, that's fine. But it also looks like it's limited to KYC users, I think in the States, that are using LN Strike, which, you know, not to talk any junk on Strike. I think Strike is a fantastic product, and I actually bought a lot of Bitcoin through them the last week or so. So shouts to Rockstar and Jack and all the people that are working on that great product. But it's a little disappointing to see that, you know, you got a KYC to get these Lightning tips, and it's on a closed platform. It would have been so cool if you could just pay directly with LN, you know, with something cool, maybe like Lightning address. I know it's brand new, and there would be some, you know, technical challenges to running it, but that'd be awesome. But at the same time, you know, I also think we got to have limited expectations as to what can really be possible on like a big platform like Twitter. So, well, a lot of mixed emotions on this one. Chad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I saw the 2 different leaks that came out. So I saw the leak that had the information about Strike on there. And then I also saw the leak that had just the plain Bitcoin address and the plain Ethereum address. Whereas you're like where you're going to be engaging in address reuse. That probably isn't a big deal to the Ethereum people because they're kind of used to just using like one account. Some people use more, but like the normal use case is just to have one account where you keep all your shit. But over here on Bitcoin land, like we try to do no address reuse if we can help it. Obviously, that impacts privacy, but I think everyone already knows that, all that. But I think the bigger issue is that like I think Strike's fine, and you know you used good language to kind of walk around the issue and not shit talk Strike directly. But like I do find it to be a relatively lazy play on Twitter's part. Like maybe they're building out a more robust feature set behind the scenes, and this is just for the short term UX of being able to pay with Cash App or pay with this, that, or whatever thing. It's just like it's tipping only. And I think that's the important thing to realize, that like tipping, a lot of the tipping that we've had on Bitcoin and on Lightning has been centralized. So we had Change Tip years ago. They were centralized, got bought out by Airbnb. And we had Tippin.me, and we have a couple other ones that are, you know, I'm blanking on at the moment. And those are fine, and you know, they get some use, but like it really sucks that we don't have a more quote unquote cypherpunk solution, that, you know, we don't need Twitter, you know, really, besides just being the interface. Everything else would just be on our end, you know. So like the ideal here would be being able to put an offer in here, a Bolt 12 offer in here, and being able to just have most of the stack on our side and not rely on needing Twitter to do a good job on their UX and have, you know, built-in, you know, whatever the fuck. So there's 2 pieces here. There's the tipping part that they're building out, where you can just tip random people with whatever method you want to use, and then they're going to have payment features for spaces. So like we could set up a future Lightning Friday to be paid, but I don't think that part is going to be involved with the Bitcoin Lightning part, because you would need the entire payment flow to be built in on the Twitter side. Because you would need, like, in order to get into the room, you need to pay 1,000 sats, let's say. How would the room know that you paid or not? So I feel like that is the real challenge, and I don't think that they're ever going to build that, or at least not in the next like 12 months or anything. So it seems like the tipping method is just, it's a fast way for Jack and the people that he can convince on his board. Be like, hey, let's put in this kind of cheap and easy tipping method. You know, it doesn't, you know, anyone can put in their Bitcoin address, anyone can sign up for Strike. And it's like, it's obvious that they've kind of outsourced a good amount of the work, because I think the Strike integration, from my perspective, is probably not even an integration. It's the feature that Strike always had for tipping on Twitter, where you just have a link that you click on and you go to this different page, like strike me /Chaz. I have mine turned off right now because I was getting spammed by people asking for money. But you could click on that and it would bring up a page that says host of Lightning Junkies, and you can send to my invoice that's generated on the spot at that point. So kind of like a centralized Bolt 12. So I don't like it overall, but at least we're directionally better than nothing.
Yeah, so I think it says a lot that both of the Jacks have not talked about this at all. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of iteration on it, so hopefully we see it go in the right direction. And you also make like an interesting point about potentially having something like a Lightning Friday where we have admission for, like, that would rule. It looks like, at least on my Twitter app that I use here for our spaces, there's like some sort of like opt-in beta for monetizing spaces. You know, obviously something like that probably won't start with a Strike integration, but the teaser page like makes mention of like charging people to enter in a space. So I think they have this functionality in mind. But you know, like we've said, it's really going to depend a whole lot about like the actual implementation and what that looks like. So let's see. On some fronts, you know, very exciting to see this stuff, but on others, still a really long way to go. So let's see.
I think I'm just kind of worried that the feature that you're talking about, called ticketed spaces, basically,
yeah, ticketed spaces. That's it.
would be fiat only. Is kind of my worry. That would be fiat only.
Yeah, I definitely see that being sort of a status for quite a bit. Yeah, so if I go to my account tab where I could switch between my accounts, there's a monetization tab. There's an option for ticketed spaces. It says get paid for doing what you love. Host paid gatherings. Ticketed spaces allows your audience to purchase tickets for the experience and have for the experience and conversations you have in a space. Connect more deeply with your fans. Host workshops, conversations, or meet and greets with a small number of your loyal fans. Chaz, maybe we should do that. Do like a meet and greet thing. Yeah, that'd be great. Earn money where your audience is. Twitter's global platform is the perfect spot for hosting live paid events. Now you can directly monetize your following. And it looks like Twitter takes like 3%.
I just shared my my Lightning Bolt 12 offer if anyone wants to tip me for today's today's
Hell yeah. I'm gonna let me see if I can share it in there. Oh yeah, you put it up there.
Yeah, basically this is like NFT. This is only, I think it only works with like C Lightning and a few wallets. Yeah, if you want to send me like, you know, a couple thousand sats or whatever, if you click on it, there's a tweet underneath it that gives you a link you can click that'll give you a Bolt 11 invoice and like a JSON thing. So if you're using like a normie wallet, not C Lightning, you want to get an invoice, there's a way you can just generate an invoice from the next tweet. I'm so sorry to like, this is like, I mean, this like tweet is kind of a joke because I was like, who's gonna get paid for like, you should not have tipping on Twitter. That's just terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I point out offers because offers are kind of a cool way to get around like this integration stuff that they're trying to build into Twitter. I'm so sorry, Evan. I like totally interrupted
No,
you.
but wait, you don't think people should be tipped on Twitter? Like, you don't think my funny George W. Bush meme from today should be streaming all sorts of sats to it? Because I sort of think it did. It gave me a chuckle.
I mean, like, I meant like pay me for my content. This is like quality stuff. I don't know, man. I feel like you know, I think we were talking earlier about incentives, and what was it you said that like incentives, like people are gonna like do the stuff that's incentivized. I feel like that as soon as you start incentivizing, well, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe like tweets on Twitter will like the quality will go like way up. I just feel like it's just gonna get like real noisy if people think they can get paid for like making tweets. People are just gonna like make all kinds of tweets, like, you know, like I guess that's like the spray and pray kind of like mentality to getting paid for tweets. I don't know, man. I'm curious to see what it incentivizes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a whole lot of brand new dynamics that get made. I mean, I feel like if you instead of having tipping, maybe you charge people to actually see tweets. Like, I think they were like experimenting with some sort of paid like follower model, like a Patreon built into Twitter. You know, like they're just ripping features from every successful platform. I mean, hell, we're on Twitter Spaces right now. So I don't know. In some ways, if done right, it could lead to higher signal. But I mean, I feel like there already is just so much noise on Twitter, incentivized by a different currency instead of sats. It's just clout right now. So I don't know. We got to see how it really shakes out.
So, like, has anyone here ever heard of yours.org? Ryan X. Charles's old website.
Oh, yeah, the one that we made redundant with y'alls.org.
Well, yeah. So, like, basically, this Ryan X. Charles guy wanted to create a Bitcoin Reddit, and then eventually pivoted to Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and then eventually BSV. So he kind of went down that rabbit hole. But anyway, the point is, like, I actually liked a lot of the features, like, on the website itself, and has nothing to do with what like currency was being used. Like, the more interesting use case was like, you find someone's post that you think is going to be really popular. So you kind of get in on the ground floor by kind of investing in the post. Like, maybe you would put down like 75 cents or $1 or whatever you'd want to put down. And then if it's really, really popular, you get X percentage of all future tips and, you know, other people trying to invest as well. So if you're like a very early person, you could end up making a lot of money back off of other people's posts that you help to surface. So obviously, I think that website was a kind of a dead end because, you know, the guy recreated the Lightning Network in like 2016 and had it be centralized, a kind of hub and spoke version. It was kind of fascinating, though, that he actually created it, but he ended up going down the BSV path eventually. And I think we all know what that led to. I think he started calling Satoshi Jesus and stuff, and, you know, whatever. But I think that there were just a lot of cool features that can happen once you bring money into it. You kind of have a kind of money-based social network. I think on the flip side, though, over time, like when the web page got less and less popular, more and more of the posts were just these kind of shilly, garbagey posts that were like, I'm trying to make money, so I'm willing to spend X amount of sats. Because yeah, one of the other features was you'd pay to post to try to make spam less likely. But it just encouraged, you know, higher value spam. So spam that, you know, would make your money back if enough people interacted with it, kind of thing. So it creates some interesting positive incentives, but I think it also creates a lot of kind of negative incentives that would kind of make the platform insufferable. But either way, I think it'd be very fun to like experience a kind of native Bitcoin Lightning, like Reddit or Twitter or what have you, some other variation, and just kind of go through those situations. Because like, I like y'alls, but y'alls basically hasn't changed since Alex Bosworth launched it like in 2017 or something. Not that that's bad. Obviously, he's focusing on more important pieces of the puzzle here, and so he's not necessarily focused on doing the app layer stuff. But like, I would love if someone else took the mantle from Alex to build like a more serious version of y'all's that built out those features, that tried to kind of push us forward and give us a kind of decentralized Twitter, Reddit, whatever flavor you want to go for. But like, I think we kind of have that out there, but they're not polished, and there's not a lot of the features dedicated to, you know, not just upvoting or downvoting. Like, there needs to be more at play in regards to like the incentive models, basically.
Absolutely. I think there's got to be like some sort of reputation-based system built into it. Like, people are rating whether it was worth it for them to pay for certain parts of content. I think that's part of the puzzle. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more room for experimentation and building off of that idea.
So something else that I wanted to bring up that I think is kind of newsworthy here, especially because I think I started my podcast largely inspired by this company. So Fold is adding Lightning withdrawals sometime soon. And I find this to be a fascinating kind of on-ramp onto the Lightning Network for basically complete newbies to Bitcoin and Lightning, people that don't know basically anything about this. But I feel like it's also kind of suboptimal. Not to talk shit about Fold or Will Reeves or anyone over there, but like I feel like they're doing something very similar that Twitter is doing. They're outsourcing their Lightning component to OpenNode. OpenNode being the Bitcoin/Lightning network payment processor. And that's fine. I understand why they did that, and why they may not want to have, you know, all the problems associated with running their own kind of very popular Lightning node in-house. They decided, hey, we'll have OpenNode to do this. And the upsides are still there for all the newbies, where they can just get started on having Bitcoin on the Lightning network with very little like extra work. Like, you don't need to do some kind of weird workaround where you're sending on-chain Bitcoin into Phoenix or whatever, you know. Like, you can just have a wallet, withdraw from your built-up cash back on Fold, and boom, you have Bitcoin on the Lightning network, no on-chain transactions, no BS. So I definitely see the upside. I guess I'm just a little disappointed that we're not skipping directly to, you know, I mean, they do have LNURL, like they got OpenNode to build in LNURL to their API, so that's obviously a positive there. But I don't know, man. I think
which features, like, you could scan to withdraw?
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely cool, and that's definitely going to be a good feature for newbies. But like, I guess with the same thing with Twitter, it's like I want us to skip directly to Bolt 12. I want us to skip like, even though I don't have access to offers or Bolt 12 yet at all, I still need to get. I'm still waiting for Start 9 to hit their next feature, so I can do their setup without needing to do the setup again, because they're adding. They're going to be working off of SSDs directly versus working off their off an SD card.
Oh, we need that so bad. I can't even believe they launched just going off the micro SD card. But yeah, I mean, once they have that like SSD functionality in there, it's going to be a really awesome product to have.
Exactly. So I'm hoping to jump onto C Lightning at that point. That's my thing, and then I can be playing with all these offer things. But long story short, like, it's disappointing that these companies that you kind of have these moon wishes for, as it were, you know, these science fiction wishes for them just to start on offers day one and have this like super cypherpunk thing where you can, you know, mix your funds with your Fold cash back. I think it's being a little unreasonable on my part, but yeah.
It'll get there. I think Will's got a pretty good vision for the company, and it's just going to take time. I think, you know, for a lot of these companies, it just does make sense, at least for now. as they're dipping their toes into these things to sort of outsource their Lightning functionality. Given the nature of maintaining these things, especially from a liquidity perspective, more than anything else. But I think some companies will eventually see the benefits that they can see from running their own infrastructure, and that'll eventually become more common. But for now, I would expect a lot more outsourcing, at least for companies that are using, or they're whose, I guess, revenues aren't dependent on the Lightning components directly. So it's going to take some time.
Agreed. I'm just incredibly impatient.
Yeah, I know. Aren't we all, though?
Absolutely. So, let's see. I'm not sure if there's too much other news that I remember off the top of my head at the moment. The meeting that I was in at the top of 4 o'clock was kind of distracting, but
I think we had to plug our buddy Justifer's new feature on amboss.space.
What is
let's
that?
go check it out. So, amboss.space is our favorite Lightning Network Explorer. And apparently there's new functionality on the homepage. It's called the Keysend Billboard. You can
yes.
keysend them a message and it'll appear there. And messages will be sorted by the amount of sats sent and how recent it was. It looks like there's about, 20 plus messages. So we got our buddy Ben the Carmen saying, "Fuck the Bears." We have the D++ saying, "D++ is a corn slut." #plebnets. We have Start9 saying, "You were born with inalienable rights. Start acting like it. Take back your sovereignty now." And linking to their site. So, a lot of the usual suspects are spreading their propaganda on here. This seems like a fun little feature. So, guys, go check it out. You need to send them a Keysend message. That's going to include some sats, and that'll help determine what order to sort things in. But seems like another really cool graffiti board. So go check that out. That's Amboss, AMBOSS.space.
It seems like Breeze is the easiest way to do a quick key send with a message, because I've been sitting, I was trying on RTL, right, the Lightning, and Thunderhub, but Thunderhub has ability to send key send, but it doesn't have key send with a message, at least the version that I have right now.
Same with Zeus. We need to build in some sort of messaging capability, but the way I want to do it is might be a little cumbersome to put out anytime soon.
Got it.
But yeah, so Breeze seems like a really easy way to be sending these off if you're not using CLI.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that's what I'm going to need to do to actually get something onto this board here. But speaking of which, though, so we kind of hit on Amboss here. What's the latest with Zeus?
Okay, Zeus, a lot of big updates out with the last release. So I think Monday we put out Alpha 2 of the 0.60 release, which is our big redesign, and that's coming with a lot of fresh new features. So our biggest thing in this release is a brand new routing view. You're going to get a nice breakdown of what the base fee, what the fee percentage you're going to be charged as far as the fee rate, your time lock delta, and all your updates like that. On the new routing view, you're going to get a breakdown by different time periods, at least for LND users, of how many sats you routed, and get to look into those events, and updates to how you can update all your rates on your channels. That's been updated and to work with the brand new APIs. So that's the major feature. We also added some very basic functionality to do coin control for LND users. We've had that already with some of the other implementations, but we finally got the first part of that out for LND. Next part will be having some coin control for LND users for channel opens. And then just a whole lot of upgrades to the redesign in general as far as the themes go. The amounts will pop a little bit more with our new amount component that our buddy Paul Miller from Voltage has been working on. And yeah, we still have a lot more views to do, but we're pushing forward. We've got a lot of great feedback and bug reports from our users, so shout out to them. They're the real MVPs, being our QA team. And yeah, we're pushing forward. Next release should have a lot of changes on our settings page. That's getting a complete makeover. It's going to have dedicated privacy and security screens, new interfaces for that. And I believe our send screen is going to get like a big makeover. So the way that we pull from your clipboard when you have, an invoice you want to pay, that's going to be overdone. And yeah, the send page and probably like individual payments and the history of that is going to be all revamped too. So we're getting there. It's still going to be a couple more months of work to get everything down pat. But I'm really looking forward to getting a finalized version of this in people's hands in the late fall or winter. And it's finally becoming like the vision of the app that I had with full coin controls and being able to import external accounts. It's really exciting stuff, and we've got some great contributors helping out with the process. And our first and foremost, our design team really needs the most props because they've put together like an incredible design. And it feels good finally having a form of it, although not complete. Very functional right now in my hands. So it's been a great process, and we're going to keep shipping updates every week or two until we're done with it.
So, like, it sounds like Zeus, like, is already kind of my favorite kind of mobile Lightning node operator wallet thing, whatever the hell you want to call it. But it sounds like with these new features, it's like it might actually be the best, like, no kiss ass right now. It might actually be like the best mobile way to access your own Lightning node. Like, no matter, like, if you have LND, if you have C Lightning, if you have Eclair, or some other weird setup, most likely you'll be able to support it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's definitely a lot more work to do. A lot of that's due to just the ecosystem changing. But all these awesome features that, we've been talking about, Bolt 12, namely, that's going to be coming for people who are using C Lightning REST at least. Somewhat soon, so excited to dive into that. It's going to be really awesome to be able to manage your subscriptions. Definitely some technical challenges to getting that done, but we definitely are going to be supporting all of that. I also put in a PR this week to support the new Lightning addresses spec that has been built on top of LNURL Pay. So that's been really fun to mess around with. Andre has come up with a really cool solution that, I hope more people go and integrate into their products. I think it would be really cool to be able to just shoot sats from your custodial accounts through this mechanism very quickly. Yeah, there's just a lot of innovation right now, a lot of enhancements as far as usability, and we're trying to accompany the best ones.
Awesome, dude. Like, I'm super excited about the offers one.
Absolutely.
Me too. Sounds dope.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I got to tip my hat off the C Lightning team for putting that together, namely Rusty, who came on and talked about it. What was it, last week, 2 weeks ago? So go check out our old recording of that if you guys want to learn more about the Bolt 12/offer spec. And yeah, shouts out to Suheb of Ride the Lightning, who actually put it together in the C Lightning REST API and is enabling us to use it in Zeus. So we're really excited about that.
Awesome, dude.
Dope. There was one thing that you mentioned, Evan, that I thought kind of plugged into a I don't know if we need to wrap it up, if we're like kind of at the end of our time, that's cool. But I think Severin had an interesting post about how long it takes. So like Evan, you mentioned how I feel like one of your updates is now you can update your channel fees across a bunch of channels. Maybe I got that slightly wrong.
Yes. Usually you're able to just at least on LND right now, just update all your channels at once. I think it works with the other implementations too. I need to admittedly do some better QA testing if anyone wants to help lead efforts on that. But yeah, if you want, you can say, okay, I want to just set my fees for just this specific channel, or I just want to update all my channels to have the same fee rate. You can do that now.
Yeah, I think Severin I think Severin is the right name. He had a cool tweet maybe today or yesterday about how, let me see if I can find it, about how like when you update it, it usually takes like it can kind of affect how your ability to, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? Updating your fee usually means that any incoming payments will fail for a while, and the reason that it'll fail for a while, like I think he said up to like about an hour. He says your node is oh, here, I'll share it. I just found his tweet. He says your node is basically down for about an hour after you update your channel fee, and the reason for that, you get a wire fee insufficient thing. The reason for that is that you um it like kind of we were talking earlier in the lightning chat today about how like the way that information about your channel fees goes out is the same as liquidity ads. It uses the gossip network. um so basically when you update it, it takes time for like updates to get out to everyone all over the network. Seems like he's saying it takes about an hour for every node on the network to get that update, and then they take that new information, like your new channel fee, and they update their routing table such that when they make a payment, they use your new channel fee instead of your old one. So I think it's like awesome that you guys have made that, but I think for anyone who's like looking to update your channel fees, it's kind of good to know that that has like some like external effects on your ability to route payments. Looks like it takes about like an hour for everyone to hear about it, and then in the meantime, any payments trying to use your channel will probably fail to work because they're not paying the new fee that you're charging. So like I kind of think that my understanding on Sea Lightning is that when that happens, what we do in Sea Lightning is we actually send back the updated channel update with the failed payment. So like if you get a failed payment in, I believe, I need to double check, but my understanding is that we'll send out our updated channel update. So maybe your node hasn't gotten it through the Gossip network yet, and so you make a payment and it fails because you're not paying our new fee rate. So I think what Sea Lightning does is we actually include the updated channel update in the failure request, and we send that back to the person who did the payment with the idea that they'll be able to like take it in, update it, and then maybe retry if that makes sense for them.
Now,
Anyways,
my
just thought it
question
was
is
interesting.
like, so shouldn't it only fail if you increase the rates? If you decrease them, they should still work because it still matches the params of the routing table?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, because if you look at this tweet that Severin put out, it says wire fee insufficient. So yeah, as long as you're overpaying, I don't think you'll get in trouble too much for
Yeah,
overpaying,
yeah.
as far as I know.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe
Yeah.
there should be a disclaimer for that. Let me just note that.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely some quirks with the Lightning Network that we're still, figuring out and coming to terms with even years later. So there's another great
Well,
example.
it's kind of like when you update your DNS server right now, right? Like if you go, I don't know if you have like if you've ever worked with like DNS stuff, it takes a while. Like you go in and make changes to your like domain name records and stuff. It'll take like a while for them to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
out.
definitely a propagation issue. Um, yeah, that is interesting. That's a good analogy.
Yeah. Well, it's a similar. I mean, like not to yeah, it's a good analogy because they're like both similar systems. They're both decentralized, right? Like DNS is probably one of the more decentralized pieces of infrastructure that all of us use on the internet regularly. Like when you visit a website, website's usually centralized, right? Like that's a single person running the servers that you're talking to. But DNS is probably the other really big and probably most widely adopted decentralized infrastructure part of the internet as a whole. And so it makes sense to me that, and Lightning, I would say Lightning is probably, if you like use the internet and you use Lightning, the Lightning and DNS are like, domain name. DNS, for people who aren't familiar, it means domain name server. It's basically when you type in a web, like if you type in like twitter.com, it's how your browser figures out what individual server on where the server that is serving twitter.com is located, and that's the way that it looks up like where to find the twitter.com like servers, where in the world they are. You use the domain name system, and that's like a very
Yeah, so
decentralized piece of
you're resolving to
infrastructure.
an IP address. Like, so you're not just going to, oh, this
Yeah.
is the twitter.com server. The twitter.com servers are attached to an IP address on the internet. So, yeah, it's really funny when like you have a domain, right? And let's say you're changing it to a new IP address because you got a new server or something. And you share the link out to your friends. You're like, oh, hey guys, check out this new website. You'll see, okay, some friends, the website will resolve to properly, but others it won't. And they'll be like, you're showing me a 404 page, dude. What's going on? And, that's a great example of it, being a decentralized resolution system.
Yeah, and so you're just kind of waiting for your friends that got the 404s, like their access, like whatever domain name server that they're using. You're just kind of waiting for it to like propagate out, right?
And similarly on LN, some peers you may have been able to gossip your new rates to already, and others, they might still have the old values on their table, and that could mess everything up.
Yeah, exactly. They're just waiting for them to get that update. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like, yeah, I mean, in terms of decentralized infrastructure, like I think it's a good illustration of like, I think it's a good illustration that like most of the web is not decentralized. The domain name system is basically the backbone of what makes the internet possible, and it is the most decentralized part of it. And then Lightning Network is a decentralized network. It is like way more decentralized than most of the web is. And like it's cool that like you kind of see the impacts of that, like of it being decentralized like that. I don't know, it's cool. Lightning Network's really cool, and it's like I guess it's like really cool, and like there's not a whole lot of like other stuff infrastructure wise that we use that is as decentralized as like Lightning is. So
yeah, it's crazy, and we're here just like so early in the grand scheme of things. It's nuts just seeing the developments happen on even like a weekly basis.
Yeah, like when was DNS? Like I feel like DNS was like one of the first things they had to get right for the internet to work, right?
Yep, to resolve those
like,
human readable names, no one was going to like, oh yeah, let's go to 172.68. Yeah, at least the normal.
Yeah, but I think it was like made like I want to say in like the 60s or 70s. I'm looking at I see. Wikipedia says since 1985, so we're on like what 45 years of DNS.
Yeah, that makes
Pretty
sense.
cool. Is that right? No, is that 35? 35 years.
35.
Nah, yeah.
Damn. Yeah, we're just really kicked this thing off. The information era has really just begun. So
yeah. Well, okay, it started in the 1970s, but it became as we know it in the 1985 or whatever. But yeah. So about, 25, 35 years. 50, wait, no, 45. I'm getting numbers wrong. It's fine. Anyways, I'm sorry. Yeah.
no worries. One day people are gonna be like, Lightning, when did that come out? Like, was it since 2000 they came out? Like 2030 maybe? Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get to that one. So folks, we're coming up on about 5 minutes to go. We like to do a clean 2 hours on these. So if anyone wants to come up, ask any questions, Lightning or just plain old Bitcoin, just request to be a speaker and we'll get you on here and could ask away.
I just want to quickly note that on Monday, we'll be releasing a new Lightning Junkies episode. And we have Nicolas Bertier. He's the main dude from Galoy Wallet in El Salvador. So we kind of try to catch up on the latest news from over there on Monday.
Sweet, Bitcoin Beach. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, you want to talk about that real quickly? So I guess the launch date for all that, the Chivo wallet, is September 7th. And that's when everyone should be getting their $30. But it sounds like, at least to me, that Strike seems to have dropped out and they got another main sponsor. It seems like they might also not have Lightning at the start. It might just be on-chain. So hitting some issues there already. So that should be interesting to see. But at the same time, it sounds like a lot of people down there are just already accepting Lightning payments. And I saw some people making some payments this week. So that's cool to see people, going ahead and doing this already, even without the government wallet. So I guess we'll have to see how it pans out.
I think that's kind of the thing that I saw. Like, I saw some report somewhere that a lot of the things that we thought were going to happen aren't really happening in the way that we want. I'm seeing reports that they're not using Lightning, that they're using some kind of closed system, that they're not using Strike, like you said, that they're using the company that does the ATMs or whatever to do all of it. I would love if Strike came out and kind of explained what was going on, but they might have some kind of legal reason or some other reason to just not broadcast what's going on themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So best of luck to everyone in El Salvador in that efforts. We'll see how it shakes out. All right, so we have someone requesting to get on stage. BTC info source. Let's give them a go.
Will Twitter Spaces allow it to happen?
I think so. I think they're on stage. BTC info source. Can you hear me?
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Yep. Good. I just had a quick question. I created this account basically to try to help educate people in the Bitcoin space, and I know virtually nothing about Lightning, so I just wanted maybe a few. I've been in and out of the space. I don't know. You probably guys already covered it, but if there's any resources for absolute beginners that you guys could point me to, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So I like pointing people to Lop's website, lop.net. That's LOPP.net. He's got a Lightning information page that includes explainers, like explain it like I'm 5 or explain it like I'm 25, explaining Lightning in layman's terms. I think this is a really good spot to start. And yeah, I would say just go ahead and mess around with some of these light client wallets like a Breeze or a Moon and start getting used to like making these transactions. And then there are a lot of other great resources online. You can go check out the LN book on GitHub. The Bitcoin Design Group does a weekly meeting online to read through the chapters of that. And they've been teaching each other all the ins and outs of how Lightning works. There's the Lightning Junkies podcast, of course, which has a lot of great discussion on Lightning Network. What else do you guys say? What's a really good resource for
So really fast on the Lightning Junkies portion here, me and Evan actually recorded a Supreme Newbies episode. This might be too newbie-ish for you, BTC info source, but the name of the episode is Lightning Network for Blockheads. We tried to do a dummies, whatever for dummies kind of riff there. But yeah, so I don't know how to link it directly in here, but you could just go to our website, lightningjunkies.net, scroll down until you see the kind of familiar, blank for dummies, kind of yellow graphic there. It's like 5 or 6 rows down. And that one explains all the wallets that might be good, the ins and outs of those wallets, the first places to, use, the Lightning Network, and stuff like that. It's a little bit old now. Apparently, things change a lot in the Lightning Network, but I still think the most of it is still valid.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
You are welcome. All right. Let's maybe take one more person and we'll call it here. If
good.
anyone wants to hop on stage, just shoot us a request.
Come on, guys. Give us one last question here. Let's end the show on a bang. If we can help it.
I think we may have been spared. So, Chaz, I think it's time to sign off on this. Any closing thoughts? Lisa, if you want to have any closing statements, where people can find your work, or just anything you'd like to say before we call it?
What's this Blockstream thing? I'm just kidding.
Blockstream, never heard of him. Yeah, I guess if you're interested in following my newsletter on it's mostly mining stuff. I haven't put stuff up there in a while. The chainfail.substack.com. It's where I put the Lightning MEV stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Evan and Chaz, for having me up. This is super fun.
It was our pleasure. Really love chatting with you every time, Lisa. So come back anytime. Yeah, definitely got to start messing with liquidity ads on C Lightning, and yeah, it was some great discussion today. I just want to plug Zeus. If you guys haven't tried it out, you run your own node, go check out the Zeus wallet. That's ZeusLN.app on the web, or hit the Zeus LN profile in my Twitter handle. Yeah, go check it out. Our alpha is not on the Play Store, so if you want to see the new redesign, you have to either manually install it from GitHub or our website, or get on Apple's test flight. But we need a lot of more people, messing around with it, trying to see if anything's faulty with it, because there's a lot of big changes that we put in. But yeah, stay tuned, and we're going to keep pushing out new alpha releases, and we hope you guys give it a go. Yeah, that's it for me. Chaz, you want to sign off on this?
Sure. I just wanted to say one thing. Thank you, Kat, for recording this live stream once again. You are super valuable to Lightning Friday and to Lightning Junkies, just to make that clear, not to be too sappy here. All right, guys, that is the end of the show. I will see all you lovely people on the Lightning Network.
And thanks for joining. We won't force close our channels on you now. Peace.